you. Hello, welcome everybody to Fresno City Toastmasters. My name is Chanel, everybody already knows, current club president. And as always, I'm going to start us off by reading our club mission statement so we can begin the meeting with a reminder of why we are all here and why we gather on Tuesdays. So at Fresno City Toastmasters, we provide a supportive and positive learning environment in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, which results in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Business announcements today. Number one is that March 31st is the due date for our 6-month club dues. So if you have not paid that yet, we've got about 2 weeks. I did put my dues into Joey through PayPal. And Joey, could you go ahead and give us a reminder of the ways that people are able to pay those?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I got to send that email out too. I haven't done that. I'll try and send that out after our meeting today. But I posted in the chat our PayPal. That's the easiest one. That's the kind of the one-step one is Fresno TM, T as in Tom, M as in monkey at gmail.com. The other way could be, and in the email again, I'll put that in there. If you want to send a cash, check, whatever, obviously cash will make sure that it's concealed enough to where you don't have the opportunist seeing what it is and they can grab it. And check, make it out to Fresno City Toastmasters. Do not make it out to Joey Myers, or else I will take it to the next Westwoods and buy burnt tip ends salad. So don't make it out to me. Make it out to Fresno City Toastmasters. Okay. But that's I'll put that on the email. I promised you that last week, but it's been crazy. Baseball season right now. So I'm part-time coaching at Clovis West, the varsity baseball, and I'm coaching a 9U Little League 3 days a week each on both ends. So, and then I have my group lessons on Sunday. So 7 days a week right now. So it's crazy. So sorry, I didn't get that out last week, but I'll get it out today. Madam President.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was letting somebody in the door. Sorry that I stepped away. So dues in by March 31st if you would like to remain a member of the club.
And the amount.
Oh yes, and the amount is, I think.
Good point. Good point. So I think we decided between 50 and 60. So $50, 55, 60, whatever you can give. Our normal is 60. But I know since the whole COVID thing, we've allowed some leeway in there. Just note that $45 of that goes to Toastmasters International. So we only see if you send 50, and that's fine, we get 5. Our local club gets 5. If you send 60, our local club gets 15. And we use that money to, especially with the whole hybrid setup, to be able to do the hybrid setup, getting some of the tech, that laptop that our Madam President is speaking into, and you're all that are there in that live meeting, we paid for that and the speaker and some of the other things. So that's what we use the money for. So 50, 55, 60, whatever you can give, and go from there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Joey. I wanted to give a bit of a personal announcement also, not to toot my own horn, but to thank you all for helping me on my speech. I know most of you heard it at least once. I gave it a couple of times at club and I gave it this past Saturday in the area speech contest, and I did win. So I get to advance to the contest, which will be on March 26th. And I think the competition in that will be a bit steeper. I got to hear some of the other winners of the area contest on Saturday who will also be advancing to the division contest, and a couple of them were pretty good. So I'm going to be continuing to refine my speech, but I really appreciate all of the input that all of you guys gave, because I think that it definitely helped to
represent.
Yes, so thank you. All right, with that, let's make sure that we have the agenda down today. I know Heather was down for general evaluator, but she is not able to be here. So do we have any members who don't have a role or who are not speaking who would like to take that over?
I can take that.
Oh, Mike.
What was the role again? I'm sorry.
General eval.
Oh, I think that's a little too grown up for me.
That's above your pay grade, Mike. So Kalani, you want to take it?
And Kalani, are you still speaking today? No,
No.
okay, I just wanted to check because you were done.
Sorry, I honestly forgot what day of the week it was. I almost missed Toastmasters in general today. It's just one of those times.
Welcome to the club, Kalani.
But you are here. And Monica, are you still giving your speech? Okay. Awesome. Okay, with that then, I am going to pass the podium virtually over to our Toastmaster today, Joey Myers.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. And our theme of the day is Who is my hero? And we don't have too many newbies here. Everybody kind of knows what they're doing. I know Corinne is kind of a newbie, but he's been around me enough. He knows how we do it at Toastmasters. But who is my hero? There are plenty in my life. I know there's probably plenty in your life, and they tend to come in the form of different areas of your life. That could be relational, could be spiritual, could be business wise. And I think the big one right now is just my folks being here, my dad being born and raised in Michigan, and growing up in a household where his dad, I'm not even quite sure what happened to his dad. I know he served in the military back in the day. I don't know if it was World War II or one or two, but I don't think he really knew his dad. He grew up with his mom, and I think he had 3 or 4 sisters in Michigan, and was a self-proclaimed nerd, had the pocket protector, growing up in school, got beat up all the time. He'd tell me all these stories, but he loved cars, loved drag racing, got in the military. The military took him out here. He got in the Air Force, and he came out here in a 66 Mustang driving Route 66, and served in the military for about 30 to 40 years. Not active duty. He was working for the Air Guard for a lot of the time, majority of the time. He served in Vietnam for a year. And then when he retired out of the military, he worked as a civilian in the Army Guard for 10 years. So he's one of my biggest heroes, and obviously my mom. I mean, without her, I wouldn't be around, without him either. But she was as my dad refers to her as the War Department. She was the one that would make the final decision. He'd always kind of defer to her. And so those are my heroes in this life. I'm sure you guys have other heroes too. And hopefully our table topics, maybe that'll be our theme for table topics. I don't want to let anything on that, but that is my theme of the day for who is my hero. So with that, I will now delegate over our general evaluator of the meeting, who will introduce our team, our leadership team, and that is Kaylani Young.
Thanks, Joey. Beautiful introduction. I can honestly say I'm also hoping we get to table topics today so we can hear a little bit more about each one of us, especially with the topic. It's going to be a little more personal. But I will go ahead and pass the torch to our grammarian of the day, which is also Joey Myers. So I'll just pass the baton right back to you.
That is funny because I wasn't even prepared for that. So go ahead and go to the others, and then I will come up with that. At least give me.
Not a problem. I will go ahead and loop back to you in a little bit. I will then pass the torch to our detailed counter, Miss Farron Jacobson.
Thanks, Kalani. I will be the counter today. That means I get to count all of our crutch words. These are the words or just sounds that we make in place of taking a breath and taking a pause. These may sound like so, but I can't think of any more, but things like that. I will keep track of our crutch words and report back at the end of the meeting. I'm also the Zoom master today, so my job was to record the meeting and monitor the participants, let people into the meeting, monitor the chat, and anything else that comes up with Zoom. Those are my 2 jobs, and I'll pass it back to Kalani.
Thanks, Farron. I appreciate the efficiency in looping in both your roles into that one speech. I'm on board. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Joey, who looks like he is ready to go with the word of the day, the definition, and I'll also have him do the timer report since he has the stage.
Timer report. Am I doing timer report too?
Yeah, you were down for a lot of things, I realized.
Dang. Okay.
Does anyone else want to step into timer role?
Okay. Does anybody else want to step into the timer role?
I can do it.
Denny says she can do it.
Denny.
I'm not anymore.
Okay. Well, let me give the word of the day here so that Denny could try and use it. And then Farron just gonna have to challenge yourself to jump in on the table topics with it. So the word of the day is gregarious. You can see there, I put it in all caps at the bottom. It looked like my copy and paste didn't include it, but it says gregarious means tending to associate with others of one's kind and enjoying or tending to enjoy the company of others, which makes it synonymous with social or sociable. My wife would argue that I'm very gregarious when it comes to social functions, and she is not very gregarious. Here's a sentence. You're using a sentence, two of them here. The documentary is filmed inside the burrows of the gregarious prairie dogs. Second sentence, the new hire is quite outgoing and gregarious. So I will be taking on who uses the word gregarious today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joey. Thank you, everyone, for giving your brief synopsis of your roles today, as well as introducing who you are. I will be giving a report at the end, essentially just evaluating the efficiency of the meeting. Any tidbits that I have, any recommendations will be given at that time. And that concludes my report. I will go ahead and pass it to our Toastmaster of the day to introduce our speaker.
Oh, let's have Denny come up to do the timer.
Oh, yeah.
Kidding.
Denny.
Thank you. I'm practicing being gregarious today after not being here for a couple of weeks. I'm going to time your speeches today, and I'm going to give you a report at the very end. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm passing this back to you.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Good.
That's fine. No, well, not to me, but to Joey.
Okay.
All right, back to me.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kalani Youngs, and our team that's going to be taking care of our meeting today. Our first and only speaker today, I think Monica's the only one today, right? Yep, because Kalani's not going in. So Monica, this is your second speech, yeah? Second, third? Yep. Second, third speech. I have her evaluation form here. The project purpose, the purpose of this project is to learn or review basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. And we tend to very gross generalize this speech as tell them what you're going to tell them what you just told them. So it's learning the structure of a speech that when you give it, you give people what you're going to talk about, you talk about it, and then at the end, your conclusion is what you just talked about. We're looking forward to learning a lot from Monica. I know we did in that icebreaker speech. I'm not quite sure what the title is, so we'll keep you in suspense on that. So if you can just say that title right before you get going, Monica, I'll write that down, and then you go ahead and take it from there.
Unconscious bias. What are you thinking? Last year, my husband and I attended a family military event. There was great food, great drinks, entertainment, and it started off with a welcoming speech from a well-known veteran who helps around the community. His speech really sparked my interest as he talked about all the different war heroes from all eras. At the end of his speech, he asked for all those brave men to stand up for a round of applause. My husband, who is a veteran, was sitting right next to me. he did not stand up. Instead, he remained seated and tearfully looked at me. We did not talk about it until we got into our car to leave. My husband turned to me, he grabbed my hand and apologized for the speaker. He told me, I am sorry that he did not ask you or any other females to stand. I am a veteran and I have served during our Operation Iraqi Freedom. Sadly, I'm used to this response, that I do not fit in where others perceive what a veteran should look like. This leads me to what I want to address today, unconscious bias. What is it and how does it affect our judgments on other people? Unconscious bias is often defined as a prejudice or unsupported judgment in favor of one or against a person, a thing, or a group of others compared to others that are being treated fairly. Our brains make quick judgments based on past experiences or from personal backgrounds. These judgments are formed from stereotypes based on other people's ethnicities, ages, genders, religion, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, and the one that I have personally experienced on someone's military or veteran status. It is the assumptions that we make about others without knowing the truth. Yes, our brains have many functions, but sometimes they can be deceitful. Now, if I repeated shop, 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 and I asked the audience the question of, what do you do when you get to a green light? Most will say stop, but that's not the correct answer. When we get to a green light, we go, not stop. Our brains created a fixated answer. You might not know the real answer, but because of the past interaction with the word shop, we have assumed that the answers would be stop. Another great example is walking into a Target store as a customer wearing a red collar shirt. Imagine how many shoppers would assume that you work there because they associate the red shirt with an employee. Unconscious bias can also lead to other biases, like gender bias. This is where the perception of a person is based on how we think of gender should act. Think about it. How many people do you know that assume that a man is a terrible cook or that a woman cannot fix cars? Then there's also similarity bias, where you only enjoy or value people who are similar to yourself. By being around people who look and eat like you, do not create diversity in your life. Instead, it hinders you to never having a true relationship with others outside of those who are similar than yourself. Imagine all of those friendships or relationships you are missing out of, all of those gorgeous connections that are missed. How do we combat unconscious bias? Combating this ultimately falls back on everyone. There are two ways to help approach our own unconscious bias. The first is asking yourself questions along with finding out the real answers. Asking questions will help you identify what you fully do not understand about another person. At first, it might be out of your comfort zone, but if you approach the question as a learning experience, it will open up the conversation. The second is to welcome not only diversity, but also inclusion. For example, imagine a business where its employees has a great diverse work team. They hire employees from many different backgrounds. To the outside, it might seem that they are well diverse. However, if they fail to include all workers from contributing their thoughts on meetings or promotions based on their unconscious bias, that they do not belong there and were only there based on affirmative action, that company is not well diverse. If you are looking on adding personal inclusion, ask one of your friends from a different background if you can be included into one of their family functions or a friend event that is opposite from your regular norm. Open up the possibility to be included in their lives as well as you include them into your life. Thank you for the time to let me talk about a topic that is not often talked about. I hope that you have learned something about unconscious bias, and I hope it opened up the possibility of combating anything that you might have. Hopefully, with more people aware of what it is, it will become the change that is well needed with the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. And way to go. She sent me a direct message on not having the timer in the screen. And so I think she did great. I told her I'd look out for the color change backgrounds for her. And I think she did. I think she just made it in there. So great job, Monica, for second speech. That's a tough one to have that anxiety before you go into that speech, but great information. Thank you. Thank you. All right. On that, since we only had one speech today, we will move on to our table topics portion of the meeting. And that will be our Madam President, Ms. Chanel West, to head that up.
Thank you. Well, I'm not going to disappoint Joey. Our table topic for today, the question is going to be about who our heroes are. Specifically, who is somebody, this is what I would like you to think about, who is somebody that you admire or have learned from in your life? And why do you admire them, or what have you learned from them? What have they taught you that has been valuable? So this could be somebody that you know personally, a family member, a friend, a mentor, or it could be somebody that you don't know personally, living or not living, who you have just learned a significant amount from. So that is the question put out there, and you guys can go ahead and volunteer if you have somebody. If not, I will choose people. Oh, Denny is on it. Okay, you can go first and give to everybody else.
What a great topic. I learned a couple of weeks ago via text that a great mentor of mine had passed away. And this is somebody that I worked with for 30 years. I was a little bit disappointed in the way that I learned about it. However, learning that someone has passed away made me very reflective as far as all the ways that I have been affected by his teaching me over the years. Another photographer, obviously. And he's the person that gave me my first start, and I ended up working with him for years. And of course, we became great friends. So the thing is, I was really not sad about it, because the last time I saw him, I had a really great talk with him. Every time we got together, I always told him how much I appreciated him, and how much he meant to me in my career, so in my life, of course. So I was sad about it, but I admired him so much, and I appreciate all the things that he did for me. So thank you.
All right, I think I know here in person we had a couple of raised hands. Would you like to come up?
Ren.
Tough topic. I think that I have big and small heroes in different areas. In music, it could be Mozart and Tchaikovsky or the Beatles. In literature, Dostoevsky or Alexander Dumas. I know who my anti-heroes are. It's Hitler and Brutus. Those two I despise, basically. Ultimately, my heroes in my life are my grandfather and my father, because I always followed their example of life. I knew they fought for their values. My grandfather was a genocide survivor, but he didn't give up. He continued fighting, and he became a member of the French Legion and went all the way to his homeland, trying to rescue his home again. So my father taught me about brotherhood of men, about democracy, about good values, spiritual values, and I always really cherish his company. And I made a deal with him that because he played such a big role in my life, I will take him to Grand European tour so that he could finally see the world he desired to see and dreamed of. And spiritually, of course, my hero is my God and his son, who sacrificed himself to save all of us and to live in this world. Those are my heroes. Thank you.
You raise your hand also. It's gonna go, and then we'll get to everybody else here.
So Toastmasters, my hero would have to be Martin Luther King. And I'll tell you for obvious reasons, but also for reasons that are often not mentioned. He started his ministry at 28 years old. And so he had to deal with these life challenges and these societal challenges as a young man. And I think that it takes a lot of courage to be a person in his 20s during the 60s to take on such a machine that was working against him in society, which was the machine of racism. And I think that what I admire most was that he gathered from all sources, not just African-American sources, but best practices from around the world. He was a student of Gandhi and so many other great leaders around the world and throughout history. He also had to deal with violence in his own personal life and persecution. And in hindsight, it's really easy to say, well, he did it because it was the right thing to do. But when you have death threats being made to your home, to your family, and not knowing the outcome of what your actions will have in the future, I think that requires a lot of faith and a lot of courage. He was an academic. He was very gregarious, well-liked amongst his peers. And so I think that knowing that impending death is right around the corner and still being able to give the types of speeches and to live the type of life that he lived, it does show a role model for young people around the world. And his contributions to the fight against racism does not just benefit African Americans in the United States, but all races around the world. And so if I had to say somebody that inspires me to be the best version of myself, is Martin Luther King. Madam Toastmaster?
Very good, thank you. All right, Zoom people, who would like to go next?
I can go. I was sitting here trying to think of someone that I could label my hero that wasn't the stereotypical parents, but I also would like to honor my commitment to be one of the first to volunteer. Therefore, I'm going to go with my mom. My mom was born in Mexico and immigrated to the US when she was about 5 years old. She learned the language, but was also in ELS classes her entire life. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's actually for native Spanish speakers, and it taught her the language of Americas, which is English. She raised her 5 brothers and sisters by herself while her parents worked. And at the age of 17, ended up getting pregnant with my sister and having her at 18. She's married to my dad, obviously, and then had me 4 years later. My mom watched my sister during the day while my dad was in the military and went to night classes and worked at night to raise us. Today, there are 3 of us. I'm being the middle, and I have a younger sister who is 6 years younger than I am. My older sister went to UC Irvine and majored in some kind of emphasis with neuroscience. I graduated as a double major, and my little sister right now is pursuing marine biology at San Jose State University. My mom was the person who taught me how to swing a left hook, and is also the person who taught me how to give a firm handshake and to stare at people in the eyes when I introduced myself at the age of 11. She's taught me a lot of what it means to be a strong woman, and I think she'll always remain my hero.
Thank you, Kalani, for sharing that. How are we doing on time? Just so what time?
Oh, we're good. Yeah, we'll have one evaluator. So we're good.
Yeah. We're on time.
All right, wonderful. Okay, Mike, would you like to go?
Mike,
Calling you
Mike
out.
Ellis. There he is.
I was trying not to go, but yeah, I can go.
You were trying to hide, Mike.
I was totally trying to hide today. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Yeah, it was exactly what I was trying to do today. But yeah, I can go. I thought I went just in case I couldn't hide, so I'm sort of prepared. My heroes, I think like everyone else, my heroes really defer on, what are we talking about and what era. But currently at this point in my wonderful and blessed life, my heroes actually are my heroes are my children, to be honest with you. And I am blessed with twins, as some of you all know, but now you all know. And at 3 years of age, which they are 9 now. So for the last 6 years, I've been a part of they're growing into regular 9 years old, but they've had some other little challenges, and they've accepted these challenges with smiles on their face, and I think resilience of somebody much older. And what am I trying to say? They're really tough little kids, and they've been through a lot of things that kids their age probably hasn't gone through, and most of that is due to me and my mom's decisions. But I think they've, good or bad, they've always did everything we asked them with courage. And so they have introduced me to a whole another community of people that I love and I'm grateful for, and I'm happy to be an advocate for as well. So currently, my kids are my heroes today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Baron.
I can go. And just to note, I have been silently communicating with Denny. I'm watching her signals and then putting them up on Zoom. So I hope I'm getting them right. As for table topics, I will go along with what Mike said. My kid, specifically my son, is my hero. He is 9. His name is Isaac. He was diagnosed with leukemia in August, 2 days before the start of the new school year. And he has been so strong and resilient during all of his chemotherapy process. And this kid gets poked in the back twice a month. And he also has a port that's now installed in his chest that is a direct line to his bloodstream, where he gets all of his treatments through. He gets poked in that once a week. And the amount of needles and doctor's visits and hospital stays that we've had to have it's insane. It's hard for me, but I feel like I am not allowed to complain because my 9-year-old doesn't complain about it at all. It's funny because we go in, we actually just had an appointment this morning, and we go in, he has numbing cream already applied on his port, and the nurse has to access it, which means she puts like an 1.5-inch needle in through his port. And he sits there and they ask him every time, do you want me to count to 3 or do you want me to just do it? And he just sits there, he's like, just do it. He's so nonchalant about it. He's not the most gregarious kid. He just gets his procedures done, doesn't really talk to anybody else. All the other patients sometimes talk to each other. They walk around the unit. Isaac just sits there. He lets the treatments happen, doesn't complain about anything. Like I said, he's never crying. He's never screaming like some of the other kids. And the nurses always compliment him and say, wow, he needs to teach the teenagers, those older than him, how to take the needle, like how to just man up and do it, because he's so strong and so brave. It's insane. So he is definitely my hero.
Thank you, Karen. I would like to give Ray the chance to share if you want to, Ray. If not, that's totally okay too, since you're still joining us as a guest.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like everyone, the trend is, I believe my kids are the heroes and the people that I'm around. It just the season that I'm in. There's so many heroes and so many motivators for me. The agency I work for is a nonprofit agency that help people with visual impairments and vision loss. So a lot of times we see trauma through our centers, people that lose their visions through no fault of their own, either being through birth or through, some severe things of car accidents, gunshot wounds, and everything. And the impact that they have on our lives and our staff life, because how quick they are to change and motivate themselves to want more, drives me as a director to work harder to find more. They are my heroes because they get up every day. They travel to our agency because some of our clients and students do not live in the areas. They live in rural areas and they have to get here. It takes longer than just us to jump in a car and get to our centers. So they're very passionate and they're driven, and that gives me motivation. And I look up to them because if they can do it, there's no reason I can't do it. And the same for my kids. My kids they're very young, but they're very wise, and they motivate me again. My son, he is one of those kids that loves children's church. If we do not go to church, he will tell his mom and hey, we got to go to church. He motivates us. He pushes us, because me and my wife are very in our faith, and we've had our challenges in our faith. But having a 2-year-old tell us, we have to go. He's my hero. So again, it's just the season I'm in. There's a lot of different heroes in my life. So thank you.
Awesome, Ray.
What time is it now?
If maybe time for one more because we just have one evaluator.
Okay, well, Joey or Monica, would either of you like to go?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay. So there's so many heroes in my life, but one that makes life even better for myself is my mother. My mother is currently not in this earth anymore, but I feel her spirit around me. She was really big on her children, making sure that her children understood that you could lose your car, you could lose your husband, you could lose your job, but you cannot lose your education. So she was very big on that with us. My mother was a migrant worker. She traveled to work in the fields. She walked out with the Cesar Chavez era with Dolores Huerta to make sure that education was going to be afforded to her. My mom did not graduate from Fresno State until she was 49 years old. Since then, all of her grandchildren and all of her children, we all have a bachelor's degree and above. The newest one is my daughter. This last weekend, she just got a full scholarship to UC Davis. And we're waiting on 3 more offers from UCLA, from UC Santa Cruz, and from UC San Diego. So with that, I just like to give that props to my mom, that she has taught us that education is very important. And with that, education has created all these careers for everybody in our family. And we've been able to become other people's heroes in our professions. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, everybody. This might be one of my favorite table topics that we've ever done because everything that all of you said was so incredibly inspiring. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna pass the podium over to Kalani, but then I think she's gonna pass it right back to me since I am the speech evaluator.
Thank you, Chanel. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, with all these delays on my end, I always miss, I think I'm talking over the applause, but thank you, Chanel. I thought that table topic was very inspiring, but also being able to hear a little bit more about each one of you was really it's really good when you get to meet each other on a weekly basis and get to know a little bit more about your personalities and what's really important to you. So thank you for sharing that, everyone. I will go ahead and pass the torch back to you, Ms. Chanel, for our evaluation.
Thank you. All right, Monica. Well, the very first thing that I would like to say is thank you for your service from myself, and I know from everybody else. And you definitely deserve recognition for that. I think that you are a good writer, and that really comes out in your speech and in the last speech that you gave. You opened with a story that was very captivating and impactful immediately. And it definitely, it drew me in at first. I wasn't sure, I'm like, where is the story going? And then immediately I realized, oh, wow, that's really bad. And kind of hit me right here. And so that was a really good speech structure, opening up with a story. Well done there. You told us what your speech was going to be about and what we could expect. You included definitions in your speech, which is good, it's clear, good speech device. And you also included examples of what subconscious bias is, what it could look like in our life to make that tangible and to help us understand what exactly that concept was and where we might see it around us. So really good job on all of those things. So then on the suggestion side, as you're moving forward, and again, this is only your second speech, so these things develop slowly, but as you are moving forward and getting into the next modules and pathways, some of the things of speaking that you'll start to develop and practice are some of the stuff outside of like just the content of the speech. So firstly, like eye contact, being able to look at everybody as you're speaking, which I struggle with this too. I tend to write down everything before I speak. And so then my tendency is often just to want to read it. I totally get that because that's how I am. That's how my brain works. I know it's different for everybody. Some people are like, I couldn't write it down if I tried. So just being able to internalize a bit more of that speech so that the eye contact can be there. And then eventually starting to work on things like using more hand motions and body language incorporated into the speech, standing up, integrating like vocal variety. So when sometimes you talk louder to emphasize a point, talk softer, at times you might talk fast, and then times you might slow down also for emphasis. Those are just all things as we develop the speakers that we'll start integrating. But I really enjoyed your speech. I thought that it was, again, well written, that you used a good speech structure and good devices to make your point and to help keep our attention, and really enjoyed hearing it. Looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Chanel. I think you had a really great evaluation. I definitely notated some items on there that I felt useful for even when I speak, and noticing patterns when you were describing them in just my recent interactions with the last 72 hours. I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch to our timer of the day, Miss Denny. And also want to give special shout out to Farron, although I know she's not on screen. Her background screens were very helpful, especially for us Zoom folks out here.
I'm hoping Farron will give me a tutorial on doing the background screen. Corin, you were at 136. So you were right in there. You were at 150. Kalani, you were at 152. Michaela's right at 2. Farron at 157. Ray, I didn't write it down, but I know you were in there. I know you were in there. And Monica at 123. Chanel, you were at 308 for your evaluation.
Oh, okay. Wait, did you say my speech?
Yes, Monica's speech was Perfect, at 5:20. Yes, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Denny. I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch to our odd counter for their report, Ms. Farron.
Connie. Denny, your table topics was 1:09. I timed it for you since I didn't think you would time yourself. So you're right there. Denny, I also caught just one so from you. Joey, also just one so. Monica, you had 2 so's and 2 ums. Those were only in your table topics speech. Your real speech was flawless. Kalani, I caught absolutely no crutch words from you. Amazing job. Chanel, you had 2, no, that's 3. 3 as, 1 1 so, 1 like, and then a couple of false starts where you would say so you kind of have like a little pause there and you repeat the first word of the sentence. Mike, you had
Gentle.
13 ums, 5 uhs, and 1 you know.
One,
So the
you
ums are
know,
still there, but I think you're
that's a new
improving
one.
on.
Much better, Mike.
the
Yeah,
O's comes so
it's much
naturally. I don't even hear them. I mean,
Mhm.
I need like a little
There's-
shock machine or something.
They're
You're watching too
sneaky,
much
but I can
Canadian.
catch them.
Too much Canadian
No,
television, Mike.
maybe it is. Maybe it's the, yeah, Bachelor of Canada or something. I'm watching. Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's all good. Corinne, I caught 1 so and 2 uhs. Ray, 5 ums, 1 2 so's, and your favorite is, you know, it's very sneaky.
Oh, no.
You had 7 of those, 7 you knows. And then, sorry, who else spoke for table topics? They're sitting to your right, Denny.
Emerson.
Emerson. Just 1 That's it. Did anybody count my crutch words?
I did.
I didn't, I was listening, but I didn't
Boom.
catch anything.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Farron. Out of all the roles here, I think I hold my breath the most on that odd counter report. And last but not least, I will be introducing our gregarious grammarian of the day, Mr. Joey.
The gift of gab. The gift of gab. Since we are in St. Patty's Day week, I will tell that story at some point, but I did in the nutshell of it. Gift of gab, gregarious. I kissed the Blarney Stone. Wife and I were studying abroad. We were in Ireland during St. Patty's Day, and I threw up for like an hour after that. I think it was something I ate. I don't think it was that I kissed the Blarney Stone, but I'll tell you what, I was much more gregarious after kissing it. So those who used it today, I might have missed some because we had some great table topics and I got a little enthralled, but I did get Denny, Emerson, and Farron. Did I miss anybody? Monica, did you fit it in your speech? Gosh, dang it. I didn't hear it. I was enthralled in your speech. So great job, Monica. That's a great one because you got a speech, you got it all written, and you were able to fit that in. I love it. Great work, everybody.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joey. That's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and pass the torch to the president. My overall report of the day was, I think the beginning of our meeting was a little bit bumpy, more than usual, but we were able to get back on track. We were pretty aware of the time. I believe we asked what the time was about 3 or 4 times throughout the session to make sure that we were going to end appropriately, which I appreciated, and I'm sure everyone else did too. There's only a certain amount of time that we're allotted here. We want to make sure everyone has a moment to speak and to be heard without being rushed. So I appreciated that. That being said, Madam President, meeting's yours.
Thank you, Kalani. I want to give a shout out to everybody who jumped in on rules today, which would be Kalani as general evaluator. Thank you for volunteering last minute. Joey, thank you for taking on multiple roles. And Denny, thank you for taking over timer, and Farron as joint effort there. Appreciate that. I wanted to check, I've been forgetting to ask this, do we have any birthdays that are coming up in the next month or so that we could write down? Anybody having a birthday?
You just want to party.
Yes, you can have a party, no. Nobody has a birthday in March or April?
My daughter's sixth birthday is the end of this month, and she hasn't let us forget it for the last year. Since the end of her last birthday, she's been talking about this birthday.
Well, she did come to our meeting once as a guest, so I don't know, maybe that counts.
Yep.
Cool. All right, I'll ask again next month then. For looking at the agenda for next week, I have Farron and Mike down to speak. Does that still work for both of you?
And Mike is official. Mike, I got your payment. I sent him a DM, so I'll get him hooked into the system so we can get him in. And Mike, you've been in Pathways, right, before?
Correct, Joey, I have been, yes.
Okay. So once I shift that through our system, you should be able to log in and get through all your stuff. Just let me know if you got any questions on getting into that speech that the next speech that you're getting into.
Would you like me to give you a couple days to complete those items through the computer?
No, I'll
If
get
you're super
that.
busy, or
You'll be good. You'll be good to go after
Okay.
this meeting. I'm gonna push it through after this, so you should be good to go.
all right, sounds great. Thank you.
Yep.
And yes,
Welcome
I'll
back.
be ready next week for the icebreaker as well. Miss West.
And no more Canadian movies, Mike.
Yeah, sorry about the last. Don't you know? I didn't know I was unmuted.
Ray liked it.
Yes.
Okay, and Emerson, I know you were scheduled to give a speech a couple weeks ago when you came and it didn't work out, so
Yeah.
do you want to reschedule that?
Yeah, if there's space on the.
Would you
agenda.
like to give it next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have up to 3 speakers in a week.
I'd love
Yep.
to.
Wonderful. Okay, and then the week after that, we have Heather down, and then after that, it's just open. So does anybody else want to schedule a speech?
Kalani.
Yeah, you can put me down for the 29th.
Okay, cool.
And you can put me down as one of the 3 evaluators for next week.
Yeah, okay, very good. Denny, are you gonna be here next week?
I expect to be.
Okay, I'm gonna put you down for an evaluator. Okay.
And Chanel, you guys' camera's down, the camera that shows the hole.
Oh,
Chanel,
yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I have training the next 2 weeks, so I won't be back until April the 5th.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's fine. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, anybody else who will be here next week who is not speaking then can take on the role?
Kalani.
I can take whatever role you need filled next week.
Do you want to do Toastmaster, Kalani?
Sure, let's do Toastmaster.
Okay.
I can do general evaluator if you want, if you need me.
Yeah, I think we will need to double up since we have so many speakers. I can evaluate again. Put myself down for that.
You can do Zoom and timer as long as somebody else times my speeches.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Okay, all right, that should be enough. We can figure out the other couple later. I can put myself down. Okay, any other questions, comments, things that need to be addressed? We are a little bit over time, so if there's nothing urgent, we'll go ahead and wrap up the meeting.
One quick question.
Yeah.
How do we get our payment over to Joey? Through PayPal?
I'll use it.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I think maybe you had walked in yet when he was talking about it.
I'm gonna send that email out right after this, for sure this time, and I'll have all the instructions in there. I promise. I promise.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone.